Welcome back to Omniverse from scratch. Today, we will go through how to code in Omniverse, whether you're doing a Kit extension, you're doing an app, doesn't matter, or even you're running an app such as Omniverse Create or IXM, things like that. If you do not have a powerful enough hardware setup, this is the video for you. Now, I want to show you that this is my hardware. Mainly, what you want to look at is three things. One is memory. Well, one is CPU. In my case, my CPU is an Intel Core i7. And then my GPU is an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080. In other words, you could probably guess, I'm running into issues with Omniverse, really because I don't have ray tracing. If you have a ray tracing supporting card, you'll see at least an RTX at the end. And let's bring up the Omniverse's technical requirement page. I'll put these links down below in the description. You could follow through and check whether you have a good enough system. So as we were saying, if you want to run all these different apps, including Kit, you want to make sure you have enough CPU, GPU, and RAM. RAM is memory. There's a recommendation on hard drive space as well as your operating system. As you could see, the very minimum to run Kit, you really do need an RTX supporting GPU card or graphics card. And that's just what it is. If you don't meet this requirement, you'll run into issues such as program crashes, or it would essentially it can't render it properly. And in that case, the best solution besides purchasing a graphics card or purchasing a better computer, CPU, memory, and whatnot, there's another solution where you could install, or rather, you could create a virtual workstation. A virtual workstation is a workstation, just like your computer or laptop, except it's virtual. It's on the cloud. It's dynamically carved out to do what you want it to do from systems such as AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. And you could, in today's walkthrough, we're going to go through how to do it in AWS. There's pricing concerns that we could go through. We'll go through it at the very end of this video. But I think if it is a short, concise task that you want to complete without having to purchase new hardware, or if you need a short burst of really high-powered computational time, this is also a good solution, good enough solution for you. So let's get to it. First things first, you want to have an AWS account. The way you would do that is go to Google AWS and go to Amazon Web Services site, sign up, get validated both for your email, get validated for your payment method. You do have to add in a credit card information for this. And if my experience is there could be a $1 exchange or so just to validate that this is a good bank account for them to deduct from. And that may take as short as within a day, a few hours, or it could take 3 days. It's totally up to the region and the practice in that region for AWS. So, account for that. Second, what you need to do is to make sure you have enough EC2 resource. Now, what that is that every thing you want to create in AWS, you want to make sure you have, because all the resources are carved out dynamically for your specific need. And these it'll grow as your needs grow, essentially. So you want to make sure that you have enough resources for this usage. In our case, we need, again, decent CPU, decent GPU, and decent memory and hardware space. And I'll go through the scenario where you don't have enough resources and you need to request more, and how would you do that? Because I ran into that issue and I had to wait a couple days for them to approve an increased limit for this for this experiment. So on the left, you will see that I have my tutorial from Omniverse pulled up. I will include the link down below. And on the right, you'll see my AWS. We will follow this tutorial step by step and even to some extent simplify a few steps in order to get things going faster. And also AWS had a few UI user interface changes that doesn't entirely match with the documentation anymore. And those will go through that so that you don't bump into issues. So real quick, we'll scroll down onto the left-hand side where it says prerequisite. You need an AWS account. You need CloudFormation definition file, which we will have down below. And then you'll need an AMI for Omniverse, an Amazon machine image. That will also take care of. Okay, let's start here. So to create an instance, the quickest way is to go to CloudFormation. CloudFormation, if you don't have it in your list, you could type it up here in the search bar, CloudFormation, and it'll hint you the service. So first things first, we need to create a stack. What this does is it creates essentially an execution flow of things so that you could create a service, a machine, basically, that's workable. So once you get into, okay, let's go back. Create stack, click. You'll keep the template is ready as is. You'll keep the Amazon S3 URL as is, and then you would copy on the left-hand side inside the tutorial. There's a link here. Copy this link over and paste it here. Now this link essentially is a sequence of definitions of what type of service and image to use. You'll see these like the disk size, all the settings. You'll see it in the next page. So because we paste this in, and you can see like the disk size default is 250, minimum value is 250, so forth. You'll see that in our next step. So okay, so let's come back to the stack. Hit next. See the disk size default is 250, minimum is 250. Essentially, this specification page is partially determined by this JSON file. So here you could give it a stack name. It could be anything that you choose as long as you follow the naming convention stated down here. We'll call this an Omniverse virtual workstation. You could call it anything you want. And then we'll keep these as is. As is, hit next. For simplicity's sake, I will also keep all of these as is and hit next. Last chance to review it. We'll just quickly hit submit. And now it's in progress. If you keep on reloading, or let's expand this. If you reload this page, yeah, you could see that, okay, this is already creating, create complete. Status is here, it's green. So we're good, we're good. To check that we are indeed good, if we go back to CloudFormation, well, actually, no. If we go to EC2, you'll see that you have a virtual server set up. So we went to EC2. If you don't have it in your list, again, type in EC2, click service, and you'll see you'll at least have one instances that was created. Well, let's see. There we go. So we have one instance that was created. You can see that instance type is G5 2x as we specified. And you can see that the status is still initializing. So it's basically, it might need a few minutes, a couple minutes. It doesn't take too long. But again, if you refresh, at some point, this status will basically change into that it is complete. So as we wait, let's go into the instance ID and see what's in here. So you can see that this is a virtual machine that has all these set up. Really quickly, you have a machine setup. So what we want to pay attention to is this public IP4 address, v4 address. At some point, we're going to have to copy this address and then paste it onto our program. So the next step, we just sped through that. The next step is you would want to download a program called DCV client. Now, obviously, you could click the link here onto the from the documentation. You could also Google DCV client download, and then you'll be able to download the latest version from this link. Once you download it, install the program and start it. So once you start it, you'll be able to see DCV Open the client. And here you'll see you have a field to enter a host name / IP address. So let's copy this IP address from our EC2 instance. Copy and paste. Hit connect. And let's, yes, we will trust and connect. Let's put it on the right-hand side. Great. Now we have connected to the server and it's asking for a username and password. If we scroll down onto the from the tutorial, you'll see that there's a username and password here. So this is the default credentials. You may be able to change it, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. So let's copy and paste the username and password and hit login. Now we wait. So in my experience, if the EC2 instance wasn't fully, like you didn't wait for it to initialize, then you might bump into problems here where it's not fully ready for you. But if it is completed, the whole instance is completed, you'll be fine logging into this virtual machine. And essentially you'll have a Windows computer online in the cloud that you could then access it from anywhere and using any machine. And your hardware obviously will follow the definition, the specification from this virtual machine, which is usually really fast and really powerful. Oftentimes it's a lot more powerful than your local machine. Okay, so this is what I mean by if your instance is not fully initiated, then you'll bump into this. You'll be bumped back and then you'll have to reconnect. So let's do that. It's actually a good, good showcase that we ran into connection issues because the instance wasn't fully done. So let's look at this. Okay, so you could see that now we're coming back to AWS and you could see that the instance is now running. It's not in the initiation stage, so it should be fine. So let's copy the IP again and paste, hit connect. Let's make sure the password is correct. All right, hopefully, fingers crossed, we should be fine this time. All right. Looks good, looks good. So next time, you could easily save this connection by going onto your upper right-hand side. You see this little drop down? And you could save connection as. So then this connection will now be saved onto your DCV program, and you don't have to, copy and paste the IP address like you did before again. But that's it. You are now connected to essentially a brand new Windows machine. And here it's asking you about your network, whether you want to share your network. It's not, I just want to get this panel to go away. All right, you'll see that your Omniverse connector is already, not connector, I'm sorry. Your Omniverse launcher is already installed, and all you have to do is log into your Omniverse account. So we already have from scratch, Gmail. Did I misspell it? It should be fine. So remember, this is a brand new machine. So being a good, well-designed system, it's going to probably ask you, it's going to say, oh, we've never seen you, log in from this machine before. We want to make sure that this is you. So you want to go, verify your account, go out to here, make sure, there we go. Actually, this is not where I want to go. There. So you want to verify email, make sure it is you, and then you'll see that this page will allow you to go in. So yeah, at this point, there's not much that you need to do differently comparing to doing it on your local computer. We'll keep these things as is, and you could treat this like it's your very own computer. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining. And oh, yes, we need to talk about pricing. Let's talk about pricing. So let's go to the next two things that we need to talk about. One is pricing. And this is a page that I got from my friend, Papa Chuck. Thank you, Papa Chuck, for all the help teaching me how to do this. But this page will show you the cost for, let's remove all the filters. Okay, here we go. The cost for your virtual machines. And the type of servers, say, oh, you want at least 2 virtual CPUs, and then you want, I don't know, 5 gigabytes of network performance, then you would use these as say that, then you could filter it out. And then say you need at least 8 gigabytes of memory. And then if you don't find the field that you're looking for, you could actually add columns, click on the column, drop down and say, okay, we want the GPU. We want to look at virtual CPU memory. Just add the columns that you need and you'll see that it'll show up here. Okay? So this is where you could compare your cost from different types of machines. You could see it in an hourly cost or a daily cost as you wish, and that'll allow you to budget your resources better. Second thing, if you don't have enough resource, in this case, I didn't have enough virtual CPU allotted for my account because it was a brand new account. So I had to ask for a limit increase. So the way you, the way you ask for an increase is you create a case with the subject line limit increase. I'm going to zoom in here. And it's a EC2 instance limit increase. You need at least, well, I requested, let's see, for this server, the US East server, you'll be able to find this here, up here. So this is my account, or the server that I'm located, US East, and it's under UC2 instances, and I wanted G instances. So G instances is this part. Where are we? This part, G5. So my understanding of AWS is limited, but I do know that when I talk about G, that's what it is. And I requested 128. They gave me 8, and that was sufficient for the job. And you could request however much you find reasonable, and then they'll give you something, and most likely it'll be sufficient to do your job. If anything, you could even post this tutorial to the customer service, and they'll sort of allot enough information, resource for you. And that was how I resolved the limit issue. All right, thanks for joining. Now that we have our DC feed connected to our virtual machine, you should be able to open up Omniverse Launcher, download your kit. Here we go. Let's hit download and install. Make sure the version is what you want. We could install USD Composer, which is also called Create in the old days. And then you could also install code, which we will need. And we'll probably use IsaacSim as well. As they install, it'll be exactly the way you would do it in your own machine locally. All right, I think that's it. Thanks for joining. Cheers.